legit scientists right now are positing that we live in a simulation.
I feel like a lot of stuff is going on in the world that's brought up a lot of these conversations, even in our last couple of episodes, just with UAP disclosure and, the Nephilim agenda that we always come back to.
The world largely rejects their message and treats them as hostile extraterrestrials who must be stopped at any cost. Happy New Year, campers. Welcome back to another episode of Camp Hermon. I'm Chris Price. We've got tinfoil Tori and our boy Mikey Stibbs joining us today. What's up, y'all?
Hey, Chris. Hey, Mike.
Hey, guys. How's it going? Yes, it's 2024, a brand new year for a bunch of new conspiracies to come out. And speaking of just huge aggregate conspiracies, Chris, you had the opportunity to interview Brian Godawa, who, in my opinion, is a great mind, a great communicator. And he's got a new book out called Cruel Logic. And you guys talked a little bit about that book. Can you give us just some of the highlights?
Yeah, so it's an interesting book. So it's Cruel Logic, the Philosopher Killer, and it's about this guy who he was a university professor, a philosopher, and he becomes a serial killer. And essentially, he's asking his victims to be able to essentially, if they can explain philosophically why it's morally wrong for him to kill them, and they're all liberals. All these people that he's killing, they're all liberals. And so if they can explain why it's morally wrong for him to kill them, then he'll let them live. And so there's a few different storylines throughout the book, but he kind of he's weaving apologetical arguments throughout the narrative of the story. There's one storyline where on the same campus where the serial killer was a teacher and who is his victims are teachers from this campus, we've got a student who he's starting his freshman year, and it's a liberal university out in California, fictional university, but out in California. And he grew up in a very kind of sheltered evangelical home and church. And so now he's being exposed to kind of left woke politics, and that's influencing his life and his walk with the Lord. And so it's a fascinating book. And so we kind of just dive into those topics that he's weaved throughout the book.
That sounds amazing. I love that. I love the way the guy thinks and communicates. I'm really excited to get into that interview. But before we play the interview, we have a very special Camp Hermon news report.
Hey, campers. You guys have probably seen rumors swirling around social media at this point. I think it's all over TikTok. I saw it on Instagram, but that a group of 15 billionaires or 15 confirmed billionaires have bought bunkers, subterranean bunkers that are supposed to withstand the apocalypse. And so everyone's like, oh, why did that just happen? I'm still researching. Of course, we only want to tell you guys the truth on here. I did find one article on MSN that says that Mark Zuckerberg has a 5,000 square foot subterranean bunker hidden underground with a blast-proof door. So anyway, people are kind of like, oh, what do they know or what do they think is coming? But again, it's MSN. This is not where I typically get my news, but it is hard to find news about billionaires that they don't want you to know. So if you guys have done any research on your own, let us know what you think. Clearly seems like if this isn't true, they at least want us to think it's true. So I feel like that's worth noting.
Why would they let that information, hit, MSN from of all news sources that these billionaires are doing this? And so my mind goes straight to the conspiracy angle. Is it like a reverse psychology deal that's going on? Obviously they probably watched, Leave the World Behind, and they're tripping out, and they're reacting to that movie. But I don't know. I don't know. You got any thoughts on that, Chris?
Only that if I was a billionaire, I would 100% build a massive doomsday bunker. So it's hard to say, like, do they know something that we don't, like something that is coming soon? Like they got some intel on, a meteorite or something that's gonna hit and be devastating. Do they just have too much money and they're bored and they thought it would be really cool to have, a bunker?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So Chris, would you like to move into yours?
Yeah, so our friend and amazing author and speaker, Vicky Joy Anderson, posted the other day on her, whoops, where'd it go? On her Instagram page about these new like terms and conditions, or terms of use for whatever you want to call them, terms and conditions for T-Mobile. And I'll just read part of her post. So T-Mobile sent out these new terms. They're going to go into place January 1st, and it includes hefty customer fines for users who commit perceived violations on their bandwidth. And it talks about that, let's see, apparently, so they're employing the ironically named acronym SHAFT, which stands for sex, hate, alcohol, firearms, and tobacco. And she says, apparently, some wizard behind a curtain is going to divine the motive and intent of all your text messages. And so, if they deem them hateful, then you could be fined $500 fines. She said she's not sure if it's per month or per text. And so, what it sounds like is the kind of the censoring that like social media is already doing, right? Facebook, um, and but then someone responded. Let me see if I can find the response. I can't find the response now, but basically, someone responded, basically saying that it's not the the first party user, but it's like third party users or vendors that that applies to. And so my mind with that goes to, so like if you're using texting for, like if you have a campaign and you're sending out those text messages, are they going to use this to kind of, is it going to be weaponized against conservative like candidates, or even conservatives, like if you have a business and you use those text features to advertise, is it going to be weaponized against conservatives? That's my question about it.
So just so we understand exactly what you're saying, Chris. So they're not saying that if I have a private conversation and I say something that could be perceived as hateful or whatever, that they're going to censor. You're talking about like these mass marketing emails that would go out, kind of like email would go out, but it goes out through your text messages. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But sorry, how many vendors who are sending out mass market messages are sending like quote unquote harmful or dangerous messages? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, that's the question, right, Tori?
Yeah.
Who gets to decide what is harmful? And if
Yeah.
it's, and if it's somebody that's like far left liberal, they might decide that a conservative Christian business or political candidate, that their message is harmful because they won't bake a cake for a gay wedding, or,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
surely. Oh yeah, definitely on board with that. Like I get what you're saying. I'm just saying like how many like businesses are actually I feel like they're just using like, oh, this only applies to businesses or mass market text as like the gateway because most people are like, oh, okay, this doesn't apply to me. But like, no, once they're monitoring text messages, because like
Right.
who do those texts get sent to? They get sent to your phone. And so like they're going to be looking at your phone to be like, oh, this is hateful or not, you know? So like
Mhm.
I feel like that's just what they say. Like, oh, like don't worry, this isn't you. It's just to the big evil corporations. And people are like, okay, great. And
Right.
then like, no, it is you. No.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
guilty
it's a slippery slope.
guilty
Yeah.
by association.
Yeah.
You're buying and supporting this company, and
Yeah.
boom, they have you on some sort of like list or something like that, which is most definitely happening right now.
Right. Or like they'd use it as a reason to, kind of to like get a warrant essentially. But yeah, like if you even like
Mhm.
receive one of these text messages, they're going to take that as like a legal obligation then to like investigate you further, which let's be honest, they're probably already doing for a lot of us. But like once they take away some sort of right, once they take away some amount of privacy, they don't ever give it back, I guess is what I'm saying. So like even if they truly are just taking those rights away from businesses, it's like it's not they're not going to give it back. And eventually like it's going to be applied to us as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we're never, I mean, I've never gotten a text message from a company that's like, hey, buy our new hate cake.
Our hate
Hate the
gun.
left cake. You eat this and the left will die cake.
Smoke tobacco on their
Yeah.
graves. Yeah. No.
Yeah, I think we're, as a society in general, we've let these pansies take over, and it's not working. It's not going down well. So we'll see what happens.
I think it's a perfect time for Tori's tinfoil hat.
Okay, campers, I hope you have your tinfoil hats on because if you don't, you will probably melt from the information we're about to share with you. So I'll give you a second to get that and get comfy. This is from the Deep State Encyclopedia, Exposing the Cabal's Playbook by Really Graceful. Again, we will be reading from this for Tori's Tinfoil Hat Hour. It is a gold mine of a book. There's so much incredible information. We love Really Graceful. So I would definitely highly encourage you purchase this book so you can read along with us. This week's chapter is the Bilderberg Group. If you guys don't know who that is, let me give you a little introduction. A shadowy club called the Bilderberg Group is composed of some of the most powerful people in the world, including politicians, corporate executives, and academics. The organization, which was established in 1954, stands accused of trying to influence world events for their own gain, ushering in a new world order. Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands established the Bilderberg Group in 1954. Their stated goal was to promote communication and understanding between North America and Europe. So, again, it's kind of one of these societies like the World Economic Forum, like United Nations, like the Tower of Babel, where these people get together and they're like, we're going to unite for humanity and nothing evil is going on here. So, don't even worry about it. They have a yearly invitation only meeting. Um, they were suspected to be involved with the campaign for digital IDs and the promotion of vaccines, both which are suspected to be a means to control the populace. Members of their group have ties to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the World Economic Forum. Henry Kissinger is reported to be in this group. Basically, there's just a lot of sketchy things that are kind of directly tied to the Bilderberg Group. And in fact, yesterday we tried recording this episode, and Mike had all kinds of crazy technological issues that we've never had before. And I almost wonder, with my tinfoil hat on, if it had something to do with me mentioning the Bilderberg Group in our group chat. What do you think, Chris?
It's definitely possible. I mean, we know that we are being tracked and monitored. I mean, like we just talked about with T-Mobile's new terms of use coming out. So it's definitely possible. I can't say for sure. The thing that to me is interesting about the Bilderberg Group, and I sit on the fence with a lot of things. So I'm like, okay, is this like a secret society? Is this a cabal of where these people are getting together and they're like making decisions that are going to impact like policy and government policies and corporate policies? Or is it like what they say? It's a forum for people to get together in from the political sphere, corporate sphere, government spheres. Even there's like journalists that are invited every year, not to report on it. I think just to have input. So there's kind of people that come from different aspects of society, and are they just simply getting together to have conversations, open discussion? Because one of the things that piqued my interest with the Bilderberg Group is how it's not reported on, like what's discussed. Nothing's recorded in the meeting, so it's like a secret meeting. We know where it is, and I think we know like who goes there every year. I don't know if they publish the list of who's there, but people are like tracking that, and I think they may even publish it. But their website says that the reason why it's kind of like a private meeting is to foster open discussion and open forum, which to me would honestly make sense, because when you're being recorded, we naturally will censor ourselves and be careful about what we're going to say or talk about and how we give our opinions. So that kind of makes sense to me, honestly.
Just interesting because they're probably the ones censoring us on Bilderberg Mobile. So rules for thee, but not for me.
Yeah, if you are being recorded and you are a cabal, you're not gonna, do your sacrifice and prayers to Satan while that's being recorded. Guys, check this out, right? You look at the idea of, now it's perspective, right? So here we come and we have all these conspiracy theorists out there that we'll side with them, right? But we sensationalize this stuff and we put all of this connotation around it, right? Like that they're wearing hoods and doing sacrifices and whatnot, right? I don't think that's the case. I think the case is that it's exactly what it says it is, like Chris is saying. But at the core of who these people are and what they believe and the agendas that they're pushing, that reveals their heart, that reveals their motivation, right, of wanting to change the world. And you put politics, academia, the corporations, and then the journalists that write about it, you have to be in unison if you're going to start a new narrative, right? And one connection that I find is that David Rockefeller, has been a part of the Bilderbergs, and he had an agenda that was revealed in the 70s to begin to try to deconstruct the nuclear family. And that started with we say women's rights. Of course, women should have rights and all the rights, but it was this idea and this introducing this new character to America, the woman that could do the women that can do it all. You could be a mom and work and do all of this stuff and still, have a normal family. And it was just that little tiny idea that was, that started to take over. And now you look at our society, 30, 40 years later, 50 years later, and it's definitely had an effect when you look at it from the aggregate picture, meaning, everybody, you look at America, moms really aren't moms anymore. And we talked about this in the last one. Dads aren't really dads. They're kind of, the follower, or at least that's what's presented to us on TV. So yeah, Bill Gates he's not trying to hide the fact that he wants to do all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, he wants like artificial breast milk so you don't need the mom there. He wants to get all those vaccines out, get everybody vaccinated, and so when these dudes come together, they may not be wearing black hoods and worshiping Satan, but they are a cabal of people that have an agenda and come together to push that agenda out. Chris.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Tori if she thinks, based on like what you've researched with the Bilderberg Group and what you've read from Really Graceful's book, and even just given what Mike just said, is the plan to essentially enslave the populace, like that we would just be kind of cogs in the machine who just we work for them? I mean, does it go back to you'll own nothing and be happy and all of that stuff as tied into the like the World Economic Forum and all of that with the Great Reset?
Absolutely. Yeah, I have no question about that. And what Mike was saying about like women's rights, this is so classic of these people and of the political left in America. They always make it sound like something that tugs on your heartstrings because it's like, oh, how can you not be for women's rights? Like, you don't want women to have rights, you know? But it's like a more accurate name for that would have been like, how do we tax men and women? You know, in addition to like, how do we drive a wedge in the family? How do we control and indoctrinate the children? It's like, how do we tax women? Oh, they need to be in the workforce, you know? And anyway, so there's a lot to that. But yes, I definitely think they want to enslave us. What I really want to do, I think maybe on this wall back here, is create like a huge Venn diagram of all of these agencies because I'm like, where did it start? Because we've got like the Bilderberg Group, we've got the World Economic Forum, we've got, you know, the Gates Foundation, well, Clinton's listed in here, the Rockefellers, you know, all these people with agendas. And I want to be like, who does it all go back to? You know what I mean? Like, who's the mastermind? Or is it really this like oligarchy running everything? Um,
Tori, why did I have that meme flash up of that like that character from
Always Sunny.
It's Always Sunny, where it's got all the papers on the board and strings connecting them. He's just like pointing, looking crazy.
Because that is
that
me.
image,
That
that
is
image
me.
Yeah, that's
flashed in
actually
my head.
that's in her intro. So
Is it
it's
really?
actually I'm
Oh
sorry,
yeah,
it's in our intro. I'm sorry. In the it's in the
right.
Camp Hermon intro.
I love it. So yeah, so in an episode coming to you soon, I'm gonna try to have that up on my wall, and we can get an image of me doing that,
And so
frantically pointing.
part of the answer to that though, it lies within, in everything. Once you start tracing it all back, it does go back to secret societies, because even like academia, just if you're a scholar, or you go to college and you keep pursuing higher learning, you're getting initiated on deeper and deeper levels, you know
Mm-hmm.
and so eventually it just boils down to the elite of the elite that understand the, let's call it, just the global agenda that, Gary Wayne would call it the Nephilim world order. Some would call it the New World Order. But it all does come back down to the secret societies. And with that, it's in their minds, it's the true history of our earth, that they think that they know. The true God, the architect, this goes back, this is before Freemasons, but it's all in there, the creator. And that's who they're worshiping, who is, it's Lucifer, Satan, the devil, however you want to, whatever name tag you want to put on it. And so, yeah, when you trace it back, at the end of the day, it's a satanic agenda, whether or not the person like Bill Gates is worshiping Satan. It's a satanic agenda that's seriously outlined in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, of what happens. And so now what we do is we try to figure out what causes those things to happen in the book of Revelation, within the political realm, within, the realm of even just a catastrophe. We see, a huge, mountain fall from the sky into the sea. So there's all these weird things that are happening, but they would say that they have the answer and the true history. And maybe, Tori, this goes back to your news story that you shared. Maybe they do know something's coming and they're getting ready for it, you know? Who knows?
It's so crazy. This stuff is just so interesting to me. And it really makes the Bible so much more interesting. I don't think you can be a conspiracy theorist for very long without taking it back to the Bible, you know, but like the goal to enslave humanity is truly tale as old as time, you know, and like that's why it's so important to understand like what it means for Jesus to have come and offered us freedom. You know, like he is breaking our chains from sin and death and like our slavery to those things, but like he's also breaking off the chains of, you know, like these dark forces in our world, physical and non-physical, that are trying to enslave us and have been since the very beginning. But, you know, and it makes me think too about Dr. Laura Sanger's book, The Roots of the Federal Reserve. It's all about um, the origins of the Federal Reserve and how it was a plan to enslave humanity through debt. And in the Bilderberg Group chapter, it lists all of these former bank executives, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, the former U.S. Treasury Secretary, CEO of Goldman Sachs, the Prime Minister of the UK, the Chancellor of Germany, Chairman of Chase Manhattan Bank. It's bank executives. And anyway, yes, they absolutely want to enslave us. Anyway, and that's not what we were created for. We were created for freedom. We were created for love and to be God's image bearers. So anyway.
Yeah, no, that's good. I just want to say a couple things. There's a couple verses that come to mind when it comes to money, and kind of if you're familiar with the Bible, you'll probably recognize these. The borrower is slave to the lender. So that kind of goes back to that the system that it was set up with the Federal Reserve. It's a system to keep us in debt, so that we kind of remain enslaved, so to speak. And the other one regarding money is that money is the root of all kinds of evil. And I just wanted to say that if you're listening and you don't really have a relationship with the Lord, with Jesus, with God, and you want to, God tells us in His Word to us, the Bible, we call it the Bible, that if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and you believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, that you shall be saved. So that's where it starts. That relationship with God starts with that confession. So I would just encourage you to seek the Lord if you're not really sure if he's real. Just ask him, just talk to him, just pray to him. And he loves you so much that he will respond. If you are seeking him and wanting to commune with him and communicate with him, he loves you and he will respond. And with that, Mike, if you could, let's roll.
Okay, I have one more verse.
I've got to. Okay, go ahead.
About money and enslavement. Okay, Hebrews 13:5. Keep your life free from the love of money and be content with what you have, for he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So yeah, we see it. The bank executives, the Federal Reserve, the leaders of state want to enslave us with money, and like the uber rich are always at the center of these conspiracies. So keep your life free from the love of money.
Thank you for watching. To listen to Chris's interview with cutting-edge Christian author Brian Godawa, click right here.
Hey, they came down to top vanity, brought the proliferation of humanity. Hey, fallen sons of the Most High God took advantage of the planet he made, forming a holy alliance of evil. And look at the daughters of Adam in vain. Then the flood rain came to restore his creational order to how we arranged. Put the disembodied spirit to the giants.